75% of young people globally feel like we don't have a future. And this is because of climate change. Here in Aotearoa, we are finally starting to experience it ourselves with Cyclone Gabrielle. Cyclone Gabrielle cost a total of $13.5 billion worth of damages. But it cost more than that. It killed 11 people. Each of these people have names and families. For so much more than those people, however, so many more people now feel rain anxiety when they hear rain on the roofs of their houses. What was once calming and comforting is now a signal of terror and, honestly, potentially the apocalypse. So I'd like to bring this back to Council because the people in this room, I think you have a lot more power than you realise when it comes to affecting the climate policies of Aotearoa and the world as a whole. I want to acknowledge that you have made some really powerful promises. Your transport emissions reductions pathway, on page 34, you state that Auckland needs a sustainable transport hierarchy that prioritises walking, cycling and public transport. That is brilliant and we are in full support of that. We are also in full support of your commitment to net zero. However, we recognise that 2050 is now too late under the Paris Agreement. Finally, we acknowledge that you are in the C40 leadership group. You are here because Auckland is a city of innovation. That is the reason you are in this group. However, like New Zealand standing up to represent, the Minister for Climate Change, Simon Watts, representing New Zealand at COP28, your presence in this group is currently an embarrassment because you are not doing enough, just as New Zealand as a whole is not doing enough for the climate. I'd like to point out that you, as a council, opted for the $13 billion minimum option for transport plans over the $24 billion preferred or the $16 billion moderate option for funding. $13 billion. That is the cost of Cyclone Gabrielle. You could defer this cost to sustainable, flexible transport infrastructure, building back better after Cyclone Gabrielle, yet instead you refuse and you spend it rebuilding the exact same infrastructure that has cost lives, that has cost money, and that has cost the people of Auckland their own mental and physical health. Not only that, but the TERP's economic analysis actually shows vast improvements to economy through reduced health impacts. When you sit in your car, the amount of emissions you are exposed to is increased compared to walking, compared to biking, compared to public transport. When you sit in your car, you are subject to a barrage of emissions. These emissions are responsible in some part for 1 in 10 New Zealand deaths. 1 in 10 people who die in New Zealand have their death exacerbated by transport emissions. That is unacceptable. Sorry, I planned to give this to the media outside. I did not plan to speak in front of everyone.
You've spoken really powerfully, and I think that everyone has listened very closely. We have, as I've explained to you, run out the time that we have for public submissions and questions. But I, for one, really appreciate you coming along, and I know that there is the opportunity as we go into consultation for the long-term plan, the suggestion of an Auckland Future Fund, which will be there to assist Auckland navigate its way through climate resilience. And that is something that I think you're expressing very deeply for us today. So I'd like to thank you very much for coming in, and I hope that we can continue the dialogue with you. I'm going to move a vote of thanks, seconded by Councillor Hills. All those in favour say aye. Aye. To the contrary say no. The matter's carried.
Kia ora. Kia ora. Do better, do it faster, do it now. Thank you.
Thank you very much.